Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hello, I am your host, Mrs. M. And if you haven't, make sure you click the link below. That way you can subscribe to my channel and not miss out on anything you need to scale your business to 6 figures and beyond. Pow! So small contracts can actually equal big money. I know I talk a lot about winning contracts and I talk about things you can do. But when people ask me, what is it that I did that I would say that really contributed to me winning? I would say relationships. And how did I build those relationships? A lot of people just start with build relationships, but it's not as easy as it sounds. So in this video, I am going to talk about exactly what I did to build the relationships. And it started with one thing. And the one thing was a simplified acquisition procedure that I actually won for a contract. So what did that look like? Well, I actually had a contracting officer pick up the phone and call me along with 3 other companies. I was one of the 3, so it was actually 3 total. So it was my company and 2 other companies. And what they wanted to know was what I would charge, and they asked me for a quote just like over the phone, just right over the phone. I couldn't believe that. I was like, oh my goodness, how does this work? So what happens is with the Simplified Acquisition Procedure, which if you've looked at any of my videos I've spoken to about before, is $250,000 and under at the time of this video. And what that looks like, it allows contracting officers to do a whole lot of things that they wouldn't normally have the leverage to be able to do or the opportunity to do when it comes to other methods of competing for bids. So they can use sole source. This simply means they can choose your company without any other further competition. They can choose you by calling you. Another way is to call you along with usually 2 other companies, so there's a total of 3, and they can ask you for a bid on the spot, especially if it's a local contracting officer. So let's say I am in Texas and there's a contracting officer that needs something and they need it now. They can simply pick up the phone. If you are in sam.gov, you're already registered, and they can ask you for a bid right over the phone without any further outside other than those 3. Now, after they've chosen your company, they can also choose not to call anyone else. They can just call you directly and ask for a direct bid without any kind of competition at all. So they can go with the method of asking for 3, you included, or just 1. The other thing is they can pay you directly with a credit card or electronic payment. It's so much simpler. Now, where do you find these opportunities? And the reason why I said it really works well is because a lot of people do not even pay any attention to contracts that are what I call right under their nose. They're right there, but they're so busy looking to land that multi-million-dollar contract. And most people waste so much time their first couple of years looking for the large opportunities, they miss out on the money that is accumulated from the small ones. And also, let's look at a couple of the other pros that go along with that. One, it opens the door for you to get past performance, which is really important when you're looking to scale your business to my favorite 6 figures and beyond. Pow! Number 2, it actually gets you seated at the door so you understand, or at the door at the table, so you understand other language, other relationships when it comes to the GovCon, government contracting. Really important. You want to be able to sit at the table, build the relationships, build the past performance, make money, because that's what we're all doing here, and not be so concerned about that one big contract, landing that one multi-million-dollar. You could win 2 or 3, 250,000, and really understand what you're doing before you start to do the joint ventures and all the other things that can maybe land you that large multi-million-dollar contract. So what are the couple of steps that I did, and I would recommend some things that you might like doing as well? Well, one of the things I did is I made sure that I truly had a differentiator. I can't emphasize that enough. When the phone rings, I want to be able to talk about why I'm unique enough for them to use me as a sole source. That means they're not looking for anyone else but me based on what I've mentioned to them that I can provide to that government agency that I may be able to provide that few others can. So I worked diligently on that before I got the phone call. So you know how they say, when you're ready for an opportunity, they start to come. Well, that's true. The other thing I did that really worked was I started understanding my NAICS codes. I started doing research on FPDS.Gov to see which NAICS codes had won in what area, what previous companies had won and what they had, what were they offering. I looked at the range of the total obligated dollar amount, the dates they were signed, and then I also looked up my product code. I wanted to make sure that I understood what my product service code was, and I started noticing a little bit of a pattern with certain companies in FPDS that certain government contractors were using again and again and again, and they were using this sole source. That means no competition. Once I started doing my due diligence and I started following these companies, really doing research, I mean, spending hours understanding what was their, their secret sauce, what was that something they were offering. I then started looking at what I could offer, narrowed it down, and next thing you knew, I was receiving phone calls because also I was going to industry days. I was networking. I was making sure that I was out and about as much as I could so that they could get to know me, meaning the contracting officers. Now, they may want to give you an opportunity, but you've got to create one also. And I can't emphasize it enough by being visible, being heard, putting your company out there for these small contracts are one of the best ways to get started. So don't let the small dollars fool you. They really can create an opportunity where you can scale your business faster than you could ever imagine. So what would I suggest in this order? Number one, make sure you have something that you know you do well. Number two, start doing your research on FPDS.Gov, looking at a pattern of what companies' NAICS codes are winning, how much the obligated amount of the total obligated dollars are, what areas. You can break it down to the filter, to the performance date, the date signed, the obligated dollars. You can filter it so much. So start doing your due diligence. I mean, I was spending hours on FPDS.Gov learning this. And then once I had that, I started narrowing down what NAICS codes, what was my area of expertise, what was my PSC code, and start understanding all of that, which is your product service code. There are some NAICS codes that are just more, or we'd say easier to win the simplified acquisition threshold than others. And a lot of those are going to be services like janitorial, landscaping. Those are going to be services along with others that are going to be easier to win the threshold than contracts than some others. But definitely start doing your due diligence. If you already have your NAICS code selected, see if you think they are going to be, start looking at FPDS.Gov and start putting in the filters, making sure that you start doing your due diligence, researching to learn which ones are going to win you the small dollars, but the pros outweigh the cons by doing the hours of research. Making sure that you pay attention to what is going to be your differentiator. The proof is in the pudding. Are you willing to spend the time, or are you just going to talk the talk? Are you saying you want to win a government contract, but you haven't? Or are you willing to do what it takes to actually win? And these are some things that I suggest because I know it worked for me and it works for a lot of other people. Now, if you want to learn more about all of what I've just shared with you, and if you want to learn more about how to actually sell to the federal government, and this is what you can do. Click the link in the description right down there, right there, and you can sign up for my free masterclass where I go into a lot of detail about FPDS, selling to the government, and how to find your differentiator. That's the one thing that if you look on any blog when it comes to government, or if you speak to contracting officers, which I'm fortunate enough to be able to do on a regular basis being here in Washington, D.C., the one thing they talk about a lot is that differentiator. And that's whether you're doing a simplified acquisition procedure or a full-fledged quote or government proposal, request for proposal. It's absolutely something that they pay attention to. What are you willing to offer that's going to be different? So work on that, work on that, work on that. And what you can do is make sure you click the link to sign up for my free masterclass. I'd love to see you this Wednesday at noon. It's going to be noon Eastern time, so I can show you so much and more. And until next time, be safe and take care. Bye-bye.